And now back to our scheduled programming.
I know I forgot something. I forgot to turn the sign on my phone down.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's perfectly fine. Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Spectrum. Here we're back. Another week is gone by. What we got past Free Comic Book Day. We also had new comic books yesterday, and I believe somebody has some stuff to say about Andor.
Yes, the last 3 episodes of Andor dropped this week, and um, they were good. They, as far as I'm concerned, they were really good. And I don't want to give too much away, but as we all know, the whole point of this was to show what brought Cassian Elway's from the beginnings of his journey up to the situation that comes about in Rogue One. And if you've watched the series, because I was thinking about this as I watched the series finale, and it wasn't just his, as I've said before, it wasn't just his story. Stellan Skarsgård, Papa Skarsgård is in it. Um, the woman who plays the senator from A New Hope. There's another woman who's been playing the senator in this series who, in this final episode, they finally did her hair so that it matched more of that actress. So when you see her for her last few shots, you realize, oh, okay, they styled and colored her hair more so it's fitting with the actress from that original movie. Which I kind of, it's like respect. I get it. You're trying to keep it up. But it's interesting because they don't mention Death Star in the first 2 seasons. But if you watch the first 2 seasons, you realize we can see the beginnings of, or at least early development of the Death Star, of things going towards its finalization. Because without giving away too many spoilers, there's a situation in the first season where he gets put in prison, and the prison that of all the things that could have put him in a prison, it was just being hey guys, it's just being an innocent bystander. All the things he's done, he doesn't get busted for, but be an innocent bystander to something that's happened, and then he gets busted in jail. And the prison that he's put in, they are assigned to different groups of people, and the men in his wing, they work on different parts of a project, and they are worked. It's definitely slave labor. And it isn't until that situation comes out that you realize what they're working on. They're working on components. I was sitting there going, oh my goodness, those are components for the Death Star. And then in the second season, you see a little more. And then in this season, the last few episodes, they actually start saying the word Death Star for, I guess, those people who weren't smart enough to get it the first couple of times when they were getting little hints that this has been about, the Death Star. But I also realized the situation that made Cassian an orphan, where the woman who finds him was also connected to the Death Star. And it's just really interesting in the point of, from the earliest point of his life to that moment in Rogue One, the Death Star has always been, it wasn't his destiny. It was like just a part of his life. It was just this sort of like inescapable thing. Even when he didn't know about it was there. It was like the big time evil spooky that you didn't know was the big time evil spooky, because there were too many little pieces that you weren't keeping track of. And then as you go through the series, you start finding out bigger pieces. But I love the fact that it wasn't just his story. It was the senator's story. It was Papa Skarsgård's. You know, this last season they showed him and the woman who was his assistant in his little antique shop, and how he how she came to be a part of his life, and what his life was like before he adopted that persona, and how he ended up in that situation. Um, so you get to see how these lives came about. And as I said before, by the time Luke gets in, it's more shiny, golly gee willikers, farm boy type. This is the people who have to do the things that aren't necessarily bright and shiny, who have to make those ugly decisions, where innocents are as likely to die as the guilty. And that's something you don't necessarily see in the Star Wars films. Just because the way they're made, we automatically think, oh, they're working for the Empire. They're on the, they're stormtroopers. They're working, they're part of the Imperials. Obviously, they're bad guys. And if their ship gets blown up, hello. Um, this kind of put more human faces on kind of both sides of those arguments, though. As you got towards the end, the people on the Imperial side who you saw caught up in things, you see that point. And I like the fact that they were like, no, we're actually gonna keep some very clear cut lines about if you're walking on this side of the fence, where that ends for you. And there is a young woman that we're introduced who, her journey, she's on the Imperial side, and she's an interesting enough character where you're not rooting for her, but you're kind of going, there are minutes you're going, oh, I can't wait till you fall off a cliff, and you're like, okay, dang, all right, you respect on that. But you get to see how all these things how all these stories kind of wrap themselves up. And I won't wreck it, but they had kind of a not quite the Luke showing up in Mandalorian moment, but there is somebody from Rogue One who shows up that gives you oh, okay, and those last couple of episodes, Jen is mentioned, her father, if she's not mentioned directly, her dad is mentioned. So you get to they start tying up those ends. I enjoyed it. So I will give it, I'll give it 5 dead bird skeletons. But I would also say though, that's just me. There are people I know who are going to hate this series, just because it's a darker, grittier side of the rebellion, and they may not like that. There are a lot of women who have very prominent roles in this series. They may not like that. I'm sorry you got your little, sacks and a knot. Sucks to be you. But, that's my side of it. Poor Clay.
So, for us in the peanut gallery who haven't watched it,
no.
where in the timeline does Andor fall compared to Rogue One and
Andor,
I guess the end of the prequels?
Okay. Andor is Andor leads into Rogue One. Cassian,
like immediately?
Yes. Cassian. Cassian is the guy that Jen Corso.
Mm-hmm.
It comes up with her, and and you see how he meets that android, that great android that Alan Tudyk voiced. You see how they end up getting paired together. So you get to see how this all comes about. And I like the idea of it. The idea that this was a look at somebody you might have just thought of if you watched Rogue One. It's like, yeah, okay, he's just some poor rebel who got kind of, stuck into this situation with her, and it didn't end well for him. But when you go through his history and the way things fall, you realize this thing. It's if you think about the hero's journey, he was
Okay.
always heading to that moment because this thing was always coming back into his life in ways that he probably never realized. You know, so like the point at which he was orphaned, why all the parents on that, all that the parents in that team were slaughtered by the Empire and the children left for dead. Why that happened, the prison gang he's with, you know, what it is they're being forced to work on. And then as they get on, you find more and more things. And I won't, like I said, I won't go too much into it, but there is the thing, the planet Gorman and the people who live there,
Mhm.
what all those things are leading to, and what all that sadness and pain and destruction is, you get it not when you see it, when it turns you to this is the end game, you go, oh dang. And like I said, this thing is it's very much, well, Cassian, because there is Cassian, as you get to understand his story, there is this great tragedy to his story, in the fact that this thing is like, it's like a weight around him that he can't he can't identify it. He's so close in, he can't quite see what that picture is. And by the time he gets to see part of that picture, which he never sees in its entirety, it's too late for him. It's the albatross. It drowns him. But at least you've seen Rogue One, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so at least yes, this thing, it was a doomed, it's a doomed hero he can't escape his doom. But
Mhm.
he goes there standing on his own feet with his eyes open. So instead of like, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna face this. and
Gotcha.
and if you watch the series, for me, it gave me a better understanding of his character, because when you meet his character in Rogue One, he's kind of shifty.
Mhm.
He's not he's not Luke, he's not Lando, he's not even he's none of those guys. He ain't even Chewbacca. He is a very different character
Mhm.
that than we've seen running these operations. If you think about the way the movies go,
Mhm.
so and I was and I had kind of gone, what brought him to this moment, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so for me, it was an interesting study, and like I said, I love movies that deal with the hero's journey and all of that. So I totally loved it. As I'm getting back to working on my book 2 of my comic, I'm going to be rewatching the series Grimm, because I love some of the I love that series. It's a fun series. It takes an interesting look at at some of the Grimm fairy tales and the creatures from those stories, and making them more modernized. I had fun with it. Other people may not, but I can't fix their brains, But yeah, it's on Disney Plus. Go
Mhm.
check that puppy out. Take it. It's like 3 seasons. You can binge it, unless, of course, you have people who show up your doors going, "Hey, can you print this T-shirt for me? And I need it in like half an hour."
It's on my list, but my list is much longer than the days I have left. So, we will see. But I don't know. The more of these shows that come out, like Andor and Kenobi and all of this, the more I feel sorry for the people in the Star Wars universe, because they're trying to cram everything in the years in between the prequels and the first set of movies. So it's like these folks don't even have time to take out their trash on Thursdays in this universe. What is happening?
Well,
It's kind of like the 9-year Marvel timeline. Every character in the Marvel universe only got started like 9 years ago in their world.
yeah.
So everything that happened from 1960s forward all happened in 9 years. So like they have no time like to go to school or eat lunch or anything. It's getting that way in Star Wars now, where everything's just right in that space between episode 3 and episode 4. So
Well,
I feel bad for those folks.
well, that's the thing that I feel is the problem with the modern Marvel universe here, with all these reboots and everything.
It does put a lot of
It's
characters.
messed up. It's very messed up, because that whole 9-year thing does not gel, because there are certain events that had happened that proves that it's been more than 9 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like Tony Stark. He keeps changing which war he got captured in to become Iron Man. It started off like in Vietnam, and now I think is during the I think they're up to the second Iraq War now is when it happened.
Yeah.
Desert Shield or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Desert Storm and there's Desert Shield.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so it's like
yeah,
eventually they're gonna
the original Tony Stark got his stuff happened in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, y'all, when you have to keep changing it that drastically, it makes me worry for the IP.
It makes me worry with the IP, when you kill off the character and you constantly bring them back, and then you never dealt with one particular storyline all that well, which was the Crossing.
True.
People don't remember what the Crossing was, when you had OG Tony Stark with a younger version that eventually was going to be a Kang running
Teenage
around
Tony
at the same
Stark.
time.
Yeah, because OG Tony Stark got taken over by Kang and started killing babysitters and stuff, and they got so confused. They're like, you know what? Y'all are all getting onslaughted. We'll start over.
Even with Onslaught, is
Thor got that weirdo death metal costume with the chains and the turquoise and all of that all over it. And they're like, nope, onslaughted. You're done. But yeah, I understand they need to, like, in their minds, ground when certain things happen in their fake universes. But I think they worry too much about that. I think you can just say it happened. Like
moving forward.
Same thing, just like with everything else. I don't think you have to retcon this or that. You're just like, okay, this happened. We don't talk about Superman singing a song to Darkseid. We just move on from there. It happened, but we don't talk about it.
well, here's the
Kind of like that
problem.
uncle at the family reunion. We don't talk about him, but we know he's there.
Here's the problem with that, and I could be completely wrong here, but let's take another character like Johnny Quest. Everybody wants Johnny Quest to be the young boy, as opposed to what had happened in the further adventures of Johnny Quest, where he became older and in college, and nobody loved the show. It's like the Johnny Quest that they presented us was not the Johnny Quest of old. It was completely different. Haji was of age. He was about to get ready to go to college. They introduced Race Bennon's daughter in that one, and the show mainly became more about those three than the adventures that he went on as a kid.
I always thought they just did that to try and ungay Johnny Quest a little bit.
I don't know.
I'm serious,
Well, I get it, Johnny.
Even when I
The
was
show
little
was something
growing up,
that became kind of a gay icon show because you had two adult men, unmarried, raising, taking these two young boys on all sorts of adventures, and it was very much this sort of male world, and there really weren't any women in it.
and it didn't bother
It
me.
was, but it was more on racist side as far as being the spy type aspect of it.
But
Yeah,
even
it's
so,
like
he never. Race didn't have a regular girlfriend. Neither did Dr. Quest. It was Dr. Quest, Race, Haji, Johnny. And no bandit.
yeah.
It was this boys' world situation. And I get it, for a lot of young gay men, it was something they could kind of latch on to because it was this sort of male, kind of little male bubble that women weren't, women may have been on the periphery, but they were not in it. And so I could see sort of as a gay icon for young men coming up when you're trying to find something that you can kind of latch on to, that you kind of feel is, I could see how that would
when
suffice.
I was younger, I didn't think anything about it.
I didn't think anything of it
today, I still don't, but I had someone point out to me before that show was them the further in adventures and the way they introduced all the new characters. It was Batman and Robin's introduction of Kathy Kane, Batwoman, and Bat-Girl to the book. It was to ungay the characters because everyone thought that Batman and Robin were, that seduction of the innocent, all with it, they're gay. He's
It was a kind of
grooming this
pedophilia
young boy.
situation.
And I
See,
never thought of it that way with Johnny Quest until they compared the two, and I was like, oh, y'all think way too much about cartoons. I just saw these people doing
that's the reason I want to bring up. It's like maybe it was the decade that it was set in, because you would never think about something like that.
As a girl,
And to give another equivalent to that, think about My Three Sons. It's the same dynamic, except you have three boys with their father and a male housekeeper.
Who's the uncle? It was the wife's it's an uncle, the wife's uncle, or something like that, because he's a widower.
It was,
and it's
I thought it was the wife's cousin. He was far enough away where there wasn't like direct relatives.
But basically they were family.
Right.
And that kind of took.
They refer to him as an uncle.
Yeah, because if you think about Family Affair,
yeah, that's another one.
Two bachelor men raising three kids, two little girls, a teenage girl, and then two younger kids, girl and boy. And it's interesting, they made, Uncle Bill was something of a playboy. And that was kind of to sort of offset anyone going, oh, that's very gay with him and Mr. French and that. And but I guess I never considered Batman as a child, because their aunt, Wayne, they in TV series they had Wayne's aunt living there in Wayne Manor, and no,
I thought
that was in the comic.
Was that in the comic?
I thought that was Dick's
Aunt Harriet.
And Harriet, I thought, was Dick Grayson's aunt.
I thought she was Bruce's.
She was Bruce's aunt.
No, she was Bruce's aunt. I believe Aunt Harriet was Bruce's aunt in the series. That was Bruce's aunt because
that was
Dick
another one.
was an orphan.
That's getting weird, because now they're going to, they contorted the comic books in that aspect here
to make it more of his aunt. But in the TV series, I clearly remember it being she was Bruce's aunt. And the fact that Dick had the whole reason Dick was his ward was because Dick had no family. and that he had taken him in because he had no family. And by having, I think having his aunt there, it kind of gave them this sort of pseudo family, you know.
But
In
Aunt Harriet
in the
did not
comic,
seem like a aunt to Bruce per se, because she never guided Bruce. She always seemed more like a possible aunt to Dick
Well, her
Grayson.
concern
well,
seemed to be Bruce's making sure that Bruce was raising him correctly.
according to the Batman wiki, which
Okay.
in the comics, Aunt Harriet was Dick Grayson's maternal aunt,
Okay.
but
Mhm.
in the show, she was Bruce Wayne's.
She was Bruce's aunt in the
Yeah.
show, which
Mhm.
is kind of, it's like, okay, y'all make a decision. Whose aunt is she? Because like
Mhm.
I said, I remember in the TV show she was Bruce's aunt, and like, and she was the only one in the family who didn't know the secret. So
Mhm.
that gave them plausible deniability because she was there. So she was giving them that sort of domesticity to the Wayne household, so that anybody, an outsider would go, oh, they've got his aunt is there, and she makes sure that Bruce is raising the boy right.
And it was the whole, that's why they have fresh cut flowers in the house and this and that. The lady did it. The guys didn't do that.
Yeah,
That's,
it was, Alfred took care of it, but it was at her,
Mhm.
she was the one making those decisions about, we need to have the flowers here. And I think there were a couple of shows where they had, there had little snippets of her having Albert, have him sitting up and going, okay, I need this here, I need that there. I think they had a
And,
couple of things where something was going on at Stately Wayne Manor.
right.
She
And
would be
every room
telling
except for the
Alfred, we need
study.
to get this, this, and this.
Mhm.
It was every room except for the study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
I
was
didn't
not
know it
allowed.
was
She was not
until
allowed into Bruce's study.
Because
I
that
didn't know
was the
until
thing.
I didn't know until later on in my life that it was because of the Batman TV show that Alfred got brought back in the comics,
Mm-hmm.
because he was killed off and he was a villain running around in some purple underwear, and that shocked me. So I'm happy there was a TV show.
Okay.
Yeah, Alfred has been brought back several times, but again, Alfred Pennyworth is one of the lifeblood characters that makes me tolerate Bruce.
He is definitely Bruce's humanizing element. And he is the
Mm.
only person in that universe who can counsel Bruce.
It's another reason
Or,
I want to punch Tom King, because he made Dick Grayson get an owie and forget who Alfred of all people was. I mean, seriously.
he got an owie?
Yeah, he got
Oh,
shot in the head,
don't
and
get me started.
Oh,
Don't
he
get me
lost
okay.
his.
started. Don't
He
get me
became
started.
Rick Grayson, and
Mm-hmm.
all that happened. But thanks to Tom King, that was Dick has his own little Mixes Pitalik. It's Mightwing, and that's his little Batmite person. So all that Rick
Oh
Grayson stuff.
no! Why?
Yeah, in the Bat
Well,
universe, Dick
actually,
is now
it could work.
the
It could
adult
work,
Dick is
but
Nightwing.
Tom King would mess it up because Tom King would not make it female, because there's too much of a following for Dick Grayson by a lot of women, and I could
Mhm.
understand if there was a wing might be female.
Ah, okay. I'll have
Mhm.
to check that
No, I
out
mean, I'm
because,
sorry. It was Tom Taylor, not Tom King, who brought in Mightwing.
Okay, yeah.
Mightwing. So yeah, not
yeah,
Tom King. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
the adult Dick is now Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like the whole family of Robins, but
Mhm.
It's
Dick
the
is the
OG.
gold
He still
standard.
is the OG Robin.
He's very much the standard that they all kind of aspire to, especially in the point of
No, actually,
some
he
of
was.
them in the point of the fact that he gained a bit of independence. He's still in that Bat universe. He's still part of that team, but he also operates independently.
It
which
goes a little bit deeper than that. He actually is the only one that actually took on the mantle and then refused it. He was Batman for a while, and he's like, no,
Twice.
I turned it down. I turned
Yeah.
it down because it's not him. He knew that he could never be another Batman.
Dick Grayson is the linchpin in the heart of the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
He is the only character, and they've shown it over and over again in comics, that if he picks up the phone or picks up the bat radio or whatever you want to call it and says, hey, come here, the entire superhuman community drops what it's doing and shows up.
It was only
That,
one other character that could come close to doing that, but they killed him off.
don't read
Unless they brought him back too.
don't read DC versus vampires.
Do you know
You
which
might
character
get
that would
heartbroken.
be?
Which
Cliff?
one?
I'm thinking. Snapper
It's right.
Carr?
No, it wouldn't be Snapper Carr. But you go in the right direction. It is a Justice League member, but it's not a major Justice League member.
Oh, okay, so it's not like
I'm drawing a
Grey
blank.
Lantern.
Ted Kord, Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
And
Ted's
he's
back
the
alive.
only one that could gain favor by every last one of them. But if he says that something is a major problem, people would listen or at least hear him out.
Yeah, I'm
Like
pretty sure Ted's back alive now.
if Dick make that call, everybody's coming.
Mm-hmm.
If he makes the call, it's like, okay, we'll hear you out. It's like, let's put our, people be like, let's put our minds together before we act.
Wait,
If Dick
Ted,
is making that call, everybody is flying. I was like, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
yeah.
With
Ted, it's like
work to their advantage.
Yeah, and with Ted though, it's like, wait, is Booster putting you up to this before we come out there?
Booster Gold pulling something.
Yeah, so but I'm pretty sure Ted's alive again.
Okay.
I
I was like,
think
I just remember Jaime is still around, so it's like, how is Jaime around when Ted is? Because Ted cannot have the scarab now.
I think
Jaime is
Ted
a living embodiment of it.
I think Ted's become like Jaime's mentor. I think.
Okay.
I don't remember because he got reintroduced and then they all got rebirthed, and I don't remember where Ted fell after that. But I'm pretty sure he's Jaime's mentor right now. So I don't know.
Has anybody besides me seen the trailer for Ironheart yet?
No.
I was excited. I thought you were going to say the new trailer for Superman.
I saw the early one with him, all busted in the snow waiting on Crypto to come save him. And that's all my youngest needed to see was like, it has Crypto. So now I got to get $100 and some, I got to get close to $200.
So you didn't see the new Crypto scene.
So I can, no, but I'm going to have to get $200 so I can take him to the movie theater and get him popcorn and food and all of that stuff and the train ride home because, Crypto was in the damn movie. And so I ain't got a choice.
The new trailer,
fun for me.
The new trailer brought tears to my eyes because it was like, this is Superman. This is so beautiful.
Okay.
Not to me. Not to me.
I just watched the Ironheart trailer yesterday. I'm not quite sure where I am on it. So there is a part in there that, I was sitting there going, his mama died for you and you doing this stuff. So I was, I'm like, I'm hoping they drop another trailer because the trailer that dropped the other day that I saw, she definitely, after leaving Wakanda, she doesn't take, and maybe that's something that they're trying to do in regards to the hero's journey. She takes the wrong road because it shows her she's at MIT, a Black woman, primarily white male still. She feels overlooked. She feels overlooked. She feels underutilized, not and as if, you know, she feels as if she's still, you know, after all she's gone through, she comes back so she can be pushed to the back of the class. And because of that, she makes, you know, somebody figures out how to use her sense of disappointment to get what they want out of a situation, even though it puts her on the wrong side of things. And I'm not sure. Um, I don't know. It kind of, it's like, okay, is she gonna make the right decision? And from what I'm seeing of it, it's kind and it's somebody who has kind of seen people go that you've got promise, but because you're not going, it's not turning out the way you want, and you want a quicker journey because you feel you deserve it. I've seen what happens when people make that turn left when you should have turned right. You don't want, it's a harder road to go to the right. So you make that turn left because people say, oh, I'll give you what you need so you can do that. And because you're only looking at what you hope to get out of it, you're not thinking about what the alternative for funding you is. And by the time you get up and say, wait a minute, where exactly is this going to go? It's already 5 seconds short of too late. And they're kind of pushing that. And it's like, okay, I've seen living in the projects and other places. I have seen, to a lesser degree, I've seen that story play out. And part of me is kind of like, do I want to? I have seen this journey. I know where it goes. I have seen people totally shredded, and there's nothing left of them. And it's like, do I want to see this? Do I want to go? Do I want to go on this journey with her? I haven't quite. I want to see another trailer before I make a decision, and I might, because I'm feeling torn about it, and because it does hit kind of close. I'm thinking I may just have to watch an episode or two just to see how I feel about it, and then decide. So yeah, we'll probably watch a couple episodes and then give you my opinion.
See that?
Okay.
That doesn't appeal to me at all. I'll tell you why after Cliff.
Forgive my ignorance, but in the main line 616 comic universe, where exactly did she come from? I know she came along when they were replacing everybody, but how does she fit in? Because
okay, Riri, aka Ironheart. She's from New York, kind of, you know, because so much of
everybody
Marvel.
is.
Yeah. You know, you come. So New York's got some interesting stuff in that water. What can I tell you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the city and the state. But like Miles, but even less so, she does not come from money. She is brilliant, though, and she wants the future that she feels her brilliance promises. She wants to work hard, and she wants to do things that she wants to work hard, she wants to create, innovate, and she wants to leave a mark on the world, which in and of itself is not a bad thing. We've seen a lot of people create some really good things because of that, but we've also seen people create some earth-shattering as a result of that. But, and like I said, you know, after this happens, I know the series takes place after Wakanda.
Yeah,
so after
he's not asking about MCU.
Okay.
He was asking comics.
Oh, I don't know. I did not know who Riri was until I'd heard Ironheart mentioned, but I didn't know much about her.
Comic book wise, She came about because of a happenstance with Tony's armor. Tony's armor got stolen by people that she knew.
Mm.
They brought her in, and she was able to figure out Tony's designs and got the armor working. So while they were trying to fight over who was going to wear it to give Iron Man a go, she actually puts it on and tested it out, and lo and behold, the start of Ironheart. Now, as the people that got her intertwined with all of this here, Tony Stark tracked her down and saw that how brilliant she was, because technically, like you said, it's like some people felt that she was replacing Tony Stark, but she really wasn't. She was supposed to be her own character, but her demeanor and everything was kind of parallel to Tony. She was very arrogant, but she was highly intelligent.
And she just happened
Because
to be
she
around
was
when.
designing the next evolution in Tony's armor, and Tony saw that. So instead of turning her in, he made her an intern.
Okay.
So that's the 616 version of her.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know that was around the same time.
Flip the script because there's no more Tony, and I don't know if
Yeah.
there's like
We're in the MCU.
now it's like her canon doesn't work in MCU, so that's the reason why I was saying that what Elaine was describing as the show would not appeal to me, because you're getting away from her dynamic.
Yeah.
Her
because I know
dynamic is that she's highly intelligent. Her ego would not allow her to be used in that way. Not by anybody that's simpleton to be like, oh, we'll give you X, Y, and Z funding. She was see through that. That's how intelligent she was.
But in this version, they're making the guy who he's attractive, and you can see from what I could see in the trailer, he's playing on her emotions, because they show her being at MIT. They show her being disrespected, disregarded, overlooked, and that feeling of, it's that frustration and also that rage, because she's been to Wakanda. Okay. She knows what's possible. She's been someone who's done that. I am vital to what's happening, to get back here, and all of a sudden it's like, no, girl, you need to go to the back. You need to go to the back of the class. And if we think we might need the possibility of you having an iota of something to add, we'll consider maybe calling on you eventually. So so you get how, and as a Black woman who has sat in meetings and had to deal with some of that stuff, you get how exhausting and frustrating that can be. So on the one hand, like I said, I've known other people who've gone through similar journeys up in the project. She had some very smart, capable people who unfortunately got preyed on by people who were looking to use them to gain, it's like, oh, if I can use this person to do this, I'm gain from it. And if they don't survive it, well, sucks to be that. And it's one of those things where I'm sitting there and it's like, oh, I can see this coming. Little girl, I can see how they've written it. It's like, I can see this. And part of it's like, okay, I'm 64 years old. So I see where this, I know where this is going, because I have lived it. I've had friends who've lived it. I know what's on the other side of this. And it's like, sorry, hay fever. I'm looking like a cocaine addict.
That part, don't worry about the hay fever part.
But it is that sort of knowing that what that pain and frustration is like.
But but that's the thing that turns me off to it. It's too
and it's like
commonplace.
you should think, okay, she's a brilliant mind, and surely. And my first thought was, okay, because the girl who plays Shuri does make an appearance in the series, and my first thought is, you still have connection to Shuri and Wakanda. You should get your ass back to Africa. And if you can't, go there. Go work with Shuri. Hello, y'all would do amazing things. The fact, and I think if she contacted her, to my mind, it's like, well, just contact Shuri. Go get hold of Shuri and make something. It just kind of like, it's not like you don't have an option. Why aren't you using this option? And because I haven't seen the series, I don't know that explanation
Right.
yet. Part of me is like, do I want to go on that journey? Do I want to head out on it? Or is this too much like what I've seen so many times before?
Yeah,
Only to see.
I'm like that latter, or what you just said. I'm that latter. I've seen this too often. What I would want is maybe an offshoot of what they did in What If, dealing with Riri Williams. She has a destiny
Yes.
that she must attain, and only she could do it. But in What If you have, I'm not certain, Cliff, if you watched the What If series, the last season of What If, they did a Riri Williams episode where
Oh,
Owatu had to step in to save her. And Owatu pretty much didn't step in to tell her how to do something, but
he
to let
gave her
her
the
know that
opportunity
he was there to cheer her on.
and give her the opportunity, what she needed to make that step forward so she could make that. I saw the end of What If, that made me cry. And because I'm a fan of Carter. I love me some Carter. When she became Captain Britain, I was like, yeah! And I won't spoil it for people, but some of us we cried. Some of us I cried. It hit me as a woman. And it was one of those things. I loved it. I understood the resolution, and I was like, okay, I see it. I get it. I get there. I love the fact that there was real heart and soul, in my opinion, in that resolution, but it didn't make it hurt any less. If that makes sense to you, Joe.
It makes sense. It makes sense and everything.
But it didn't stop the heartache. And there was still that bit of heartache. It's the bittersweet of it. And I get it. Then there was somebody I felt should have been in that episode that wasn't, but I'm not going to go there because I'm sure there are people who are going to watch this who have no idea what the hell I'm talking about and going, okay, did she forget her crazy pills today? And
No, you didn't. But I do have a question for you based upon that ending. How do you write an ending where the student surpasses master? I mean, there's no right way to write something like that.
There's no right. There are a lot of wrong ways. I get that.
There's
no
right
way. That's
way
what I'm
to
saying.
do that.
It did. I got it. I loved it. I could see it. I was like, yes, okay, you were leading me to this. She made the friggin' hero journey. You go, girl. But at the same time, my heart just went just a bit. But at the same time, and it was like, hello, it was like, okay, I love you, Stephen Strange. Thank you. I know what it took to, and that was to me, that was a great part of it, where like Andor, you kind of learn what it takes for people to go through that journey where they go through the dark and have to come out to the light. And like I said, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's just my heart broke a little. And I just, but I love the fact that at the end, those women stood strong. And Storm. Oh, Storm. Sorry. My girl.
Not just Storm. We had old school Asgardian hammer wielding.
She was wielding Mjolnir. It was like, because there were times like, oh shit, and then all of a sudden, bam! Come on, girl, just wear them out, lay it in. I was loving it, and like I said, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate any part of it. This was in no place. This was in no way horrible. It just, And I think I kind of prefer that ending, that maybe because you feel all the feels. There's that point where you think, oh my goodness, this is going to fall apart, and I don't know if I want to go to the rest of that ending. And then it switches. And it switches in a way where it's like, okay, that makes sense. Yes, I'm feeling that. I'm going there. I'm with you on this.
It switched on the fact that no one gave up. And that was the thing that turned the tide.
Yes, and Peggy. Oh.
It was just the simple fact that it's like, that's what I said. The part that I flatlined most was when Peggy realized that all was lost, but yet I can't let it be lost.
I'm not gonna just lay. They want me to lay down and die. Hell, y'all know what finger is up,
I
right?
know I'm
y'all
beating.
know what finger.
She's like, I know I'm beating, and my troops are gone. I know I'm beating. Everything is going, but wait, I see the light on the other side. I'm not laying down. I'm still heading towards that light. You got to kill me to stop me to get to that light.
You know what she reminds me of? The first Resident Evil, Michelle Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah, her character trying to mimic what's it called character.
When Mila Jovovich thinks she's died the first time, and she's like, oh my God. And she goes, I'm not dead yet. It's just like, I think I'll take that gun for you. You look a little crazy with this gun. I will take it. I love that. It was her I'm not dead yet moment. And I loved it because it's like, there are others who would have laid down. There are male characters who would have not hesitated to lay the hell down and die. And Peggy was like, I ain't dead yet. And so long as I ain't dead, we gonna fight.
You have to see the effects of what was going on. It wasn't like people dying around her. It was more like existence was slowly being erased around her.
But the thing is,
there was nothing.
We're getting in the spoilerville, but at the point where they were starting to work on her, she was like, screw this. No, I am still here. The core of what makes me me is here. And so long as that core is here, you gonna handle you. Y'all know what finger just went up, okay? Y'all know what finger just went up. So that way you ain't gotta do the thingy.
No, but we got our TV MA up there.
That's so okay, but I'm just trying to, in case there are any children,
I saw that finger earlier from my 8-year-old when we told her she couldn't go outside and play. So I know what
it's okay. I'm not okay. I don't feel quite so bad, but I have to think about the folks in TV land. But
yeah,
it was one of those points where I jumped up. Folks in the house thought I had lost my mind. But that's okay because they think that normal. It was like, okay, it's a Tuesday. That's normal for her. But it was, like I said, I loved it. I have always loved Peggy Carter. Ever since I saw her in the first Captain America movie, I have loved Peggy Carter. I love the Agent Carter series.
The Agent Carter series is and
it broke my heart when they ended that series because I adored the hell out of her. I loved it. She wasn't some superpower somebody, but she would knock you on your ass. She could do so easily and then put a bullet between your eyes. And she was smart and capable and I love the fact that Peggy is the Peggy we saw, the Peggy who did not give up, the Peggy who does not back down just because all these other people say she should. The Peggy who says, screw you and everything you stand for. So long as I'm here, there's a fight.
That's the reason why I was upset that Captain Carter only went 6 issues.
I always felt bad for her niece.
Why Sharon? Why you feel sorry for Sharon?
Because she also,
she got her old ass aunt's leftovers.
But did you see that ass?
Wait, okay.
No, baby, did you see his ass? Did you see that's America's ass? and you know that ass has got tuition for the pushing. Okay,
No, sir.
I'm
No,
about to
man.
throw a flag on the play on this.
I grew up on Dick Grayson ass. That Steve Rogers ain't got nothing on that.
no, I'm
I'm
sorry.
throwing a flag on the play here. You want to know why? You want to know
Rogers
why?
beats
Why?
that Dick
You want to
Grayson
know why I'm
ass.
throwing a penalty flag here?
And he's legal. Older than me.
Sharon was responsible for putting a bullet through Steve Rogers in the first place.
Okay.
So
He deserved it.
again, it's like if she was, if we're going to convict her of having sloppy seconds in that aspect here, we need to put it in perspective. She was misguided enough to also put a bullet dead in his heart too.
That's not sloppy seconds. That's crusted over 15ths or something.
Wow, that is baby. That is well-aged beef. That is well-aged.
Not only did she get his leftovers in the comic, he dumped her for some Z-list snake villain lady with purple hair.
Okay,
Oh,
that
what's
part
it
I have
called?
not seen.
Not Diamondback.
Diamondback, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel bad for her all the way around.
Wait a minute, Diamondback is still around?
Yes.
Yes. And she was Captain America's punch for a little while.
Whoa. We're talking the same Diamondback that used to run the snake group.
With the Serpent Society, yes.
Yes,
yeah, the purple-haired chick with her little diamonds and all that. Yeah.
At that point, she should have been like, they ain't got no bangs. I'm so, unless she, no. Do you know how old she would have to be?
Mm-hmm.
She would make me look young.
Mm-hmm.
9 years.
But here's the messed up part. When they brought him back, he didn't go back to find Sharon. He went back in time to get back with Peggy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't. But because,
so, like I said, it's like I was like, I leave it at that. It's like Sharon got her revenge by putting the bullet through him, and she cried. She cried some crocodile tears. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do so, and this, that, and the other. I'm so sad that he died. It's like, no, you were brainwashed to put it there, but you were happy to put it there.
Because when you in the movies, I'm only thinking in the MCU now. Yeah, in the movies he goes back to Peggy. Because she was the one true love. Peggy was the one who had feelings for him before he got that super serum. She saw the man in him before he was Cap.
That is true.
She saw, and I think that was, she was his North Star because she saw him before all of that and never disregarded. She was like Bucky in that regard.
The dog's got to go out. Hold on.
Okay.
She
was like Bucky in that regard. She saw him, and it was like, because she was hanging around Stark and them, she was not impressed by all of that. She saw the man in him. She saw the heart in him, and that's what drew her in, not Mr. Muscles and ooh, look what you got now. It was who he was, the heart that drew her in, because I think that's what she admired most in him. Because at a point when other men had brawn and whatnot to rely on, Steve had heart. And I think that is something she seriously respected.
Steve was also a Hydra agent.
Well, again, that's going that if we read the books and everything, they explain what actually happened in his childhood. But that's a whole different story here.
They retcon that crap.
I want to get back to what Elaine was talking about, because I don't buy it. You want to know what I do buy? I buy the fact that they were star-crossed. Because if you look at it from what we know from Captain America, that's one thing. But the same thing about them, knowing what one another was to one another also applied in Captain Carter and in a lot of the what ifs. Because when Peggy got the super soldier serum, they were smitten with one another before then. So it's like she knew.
She loved him anyway. She loved him anyway. And that's what I'm saying.
She
She
actually
loved.
admitted that she didn't want him to go through the super soldier program in Captain Carter.
And what I'm saying is, and I'm speaking as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and saying someone who actually used to have ovaries. She saw beyond, especially considering what she had surrounding her. A whole bunch of gung-ho men, Stark, the beginnings of S.H.I.E.L.D., a lot of male egos, a lot of men like in the first Captain America movie whose approach to her was like the dude she had to slug out. Okay? Thinking too much down there instead of up here. And she had to knock him on his ass to go, yeah, did I wake up your brain today? I ain't playing that. Here is this one man who wasn't trying to be slick or act like he was the toughest whatever in the room. He was just the man who saw her not as a little lady. He respected what he saw, he loved it, he respected. And that touched her. He wasn't trying to impress her. He was just who he was. And that touched her. It so she could be who she was beyond, well, the surface crap. They were just this man and woman. And they connected on that. And you could say star-crossed or whatever, because yes, they also played it when they did the what if, and she was the one who got the serum and became Captain Carter. And they worked together. You know,
Well,
they
that's
had
the
that
reason why I
time where
wish you
he
would
had
have
the
read the
suit
comic,
and they were
the comic
working
version of
together.
that. I wish you would have read the comic book version of that,
I
because
didn't
it
get
went
to see
deeper.
it.
On the reverse, it went deeper
But I
because
but
he
I
was the
love,
one. He was the first one to accept her
yeah, but
with the
and that's what I'm
serum.
saying. That was the thing. He wasn't trying to impress her. You know, he wasn't trying to go out of his way to impress her. I don't know how to put it in any way that as a man he might get it, but for her, as in speaking from a female point, he's not trying to impress me. He's not talking down to me. He's not trying to make it like he's not minimizing me. He sees me, which allows her the opportunity to see him. You know, that's a strong connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that will get you through, and it's like, yeah, she didn't want him to do it because he wasn't the first person they had tried. That was that version that he was going for, but they had other men had gone through that and not survived it.
Mm-hmm.
Those who survived it physically, you know, and
Well, they didn't talk about Isaiah Bradley.
they didn't talk
Yeah.
about Isaiah Bradley. But what I'm saying is, outside of Isaiah, and probably Isaiah was the reason they felt that they could make that next step, because Isaiah survived it. And it's like, okay, buffer it this way, change it that. We can now give it to a white dude. And so, but but I love the fact that she knew the dangers involved, and she did not want to see him exposed to that. It was a point of, and it was interesting because suddenly the woman's trying to protect the guy.
That's what makes the opposite so much a better story, especially when Steve gave the ultimate sacrifice in the Hydra Stomper to save her.
Yeah.
And her reaction to it just before she went into the future, because she actually crossed over the gate to save the rest of the troops. Steve saved her, and then she saved everybody else, because at that point she felt that there was no one else to live for. If I can't have, if the person who I wanted to be with is presumably dead, then the best thing I could do to honor him was to save everybody the way that he would have.
This is what Steve would have done if he was in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I keep when I think about that final episode of What If, you can also see that in her. What would It's like she doesn't say it, but there's like a glimmer in her eye, as if what would Steve do now? What would if Steve was in this situation? Would he give up?
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't give up. And
No,
I
it's like,
you don't.
no,
I mean, they
or
don't
more along the
play
lines
it
with like, would Steve has still encouraged me to go on?
with Steve and said, "Don't stop."
Not what Steve would do. It's like
Would
Steve
Steve
would want
want
me
me
to
to stop?
go on.
Yeah. Would Steve want me to stop? But I'm saying there's that little glimmer in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
You see something has sort of clicked for her, and it's like, no, I'm not. We are not going. I am not stopping. You want to stop? You want me to stop? You're gonna have to stop me completely because I am not stopping.
It's so weird about how they saw so much potential in one another.
Yeah. Well, some
And then
folks.
their whole, what it was like 1806 version of that, it was kind of like the same thing, for her to figure out who was the one that was causing all of the universes to collide on one another. And she was like, "Look, I got to give you up, Steve. It's like we got to do what we got to do to save everything."
We can be happy for like 5 minutes.
Be happy for like 5 minutes. Then
We can make a decision that's going to make sure the world will exist beyond this. And I love the fact that Steve and Peggy are two characters who will always make that hard choice. They don't
and
run
that was
from
the one thing that Sharon never had with him. Sharon may be of blood, but Sharon was not Peggy.
And not to say, because I will say, the one where he they find out there's is that the third Captain America, where they have to fight the Hydra. It's him.
What, John Walker?
No, the third Captain America movie where it's him. They introduce Falcon. It's him. Because the Winter Soldier. That's
Winter
it.
Soldier.
Winter
Okay, you talk
Soldier.
about Bucky Barnes. Yeah, Winter Soldier's Bucky Barnes.
Yeah, but I'm
Who
saying
also
that's.
was Captain America, by the way, for a short period of time and gave it up.
But what I'm saying is
He wasn't
in that.
He felt that he wasn't worthy to follow in Steve's footsteps.
And Sharon proves herself in regards to, you see the same amount of fight in her that you see in Peggy, because we're that point where the Hydra guys have come in to the control room, and it's like, you're gonna have to shoot me because it's like, she's the one who basically leads that group in the fighting back. She's the one that takes control and says, "Oh no, we gonna fight. We are not going to lay down and die. We are going to fight." It's like, yep, you got a little Peggy in you. That's good. You got, or what's still Fluffy joke? You got a little wolf in you. You got a little wolf in you. It's you had to say it to know it. But I mean, that one was good. But yeah, I just, Peggy and Steve were just something amazing to me. More so than Lois and Clark or anyone else. Peggy and Steve are just that.
Wow, that's a lot of lightning.
Even if, are you getting lightning where you are?
Yep. Well, at least
I
I've seen
got
lightning.
I got wind and clouds. I got wind. It's dark, but you can see. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I just saw the light. Oh no! If I get struck through my window, somebody thought I was just a little too naughty.
They thought about it's going to be real bad about 10 o'clock over there in Indiana. So it's going to pass through us, and that's one of the reasons why I know for a fact if Donna and Carl falls off, it's really because what they said on the news as far as the weather is going to be really bad. It's passing through right now, and that's why we're like kind of like,
oh wow.
And I was like, every time I turn around, it's like flash, 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 flash. I was like, whoa, okay.
I'm a little worried because the last time we got what, 10 touchdowns, and And my mother and sister live about a mile east of O'Hare.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to keep eye on that just because I know that they're where they are. I have to be concerned about it. But yeah, like I said, they're one of my favorite couples. They're one of my other favorite couple was Havoc and what's her name? But
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Polaris.
Lorna Darn, I believe. Lorna
And
Darn,
Yeah,
aka Polaris.
that broke my heart. That broke my when they broke up. That broke my heart because
I'm
they were
just so glad that
so well matched.
I'm just so glad that in the process of talking about characters involved in Captain America, you brought up having a little wolf in you, because when Captain
Cat Wolf.
America,
Cat
when Cap
Wolf.
Wolf was around, that was my favorite time. I love me some
Oh,
Werewolf Captain America.
there was Werewolf Captain America and I missed
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Shit.
Yes, there was. Cat Wolf. Yes.
Now I got to go in my oldest son's room and squeak my duck at it because there was Werewolf Captain America and I missed it.
See, I've got the figure.
See?
Oh.
Yep. He got bitten by, I believe, a Hydra agent that they was messing around with the occult, and they had werewolves on their side. He got bitten by one of them, and he became Cap Wolf.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
they had
I want to boop the snoot.
he was hanging out with Jonah Jameson's son and with the Werewolf by Night,
Man Wolf.
because
Yeah, Man Wolf.
yeah, it's like we have to have all the wolf characters show up now for Cap to hang out with.
Oh my goodness. Did they ever have a wolf night at the bar?
I hope so. But yeah, Cap Wolf, that was some business right there.
See, she's
It's
hearing the thunder
closer.
now.
Yeah, but it's closer by you than me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not directly over the water.
Nope.
So that's kind of good. But it is closer. Yeah, we're just now getting hit by something.
Yeah,
Because I
because
can't even get
I'm
back.
further south. I'm further south than you, so yeah.
But it's closer by you than me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
See, down here, these us ignorant folks, we don't get scared of the tornadoes because years and years of living in the South has convinced us that because the Memphis area is on the bluff, somehow the bluff stops tornadoes from coming, even though
well,
they come out of the sky instead of out of the ground. I've heard it my
well,
entire life. Oh, we're up on the bluff. That tornado's not going to do nothing. It's like, they don't come out of the ground. What are you talking about?
hey, when we were children,
they come out of the sky, but since you're so high up, the ground goes like smack. It redirects it somewhere else. It's like high five, yeah, and they go somewhere else.
when we were children, we were taught because Chicago sits on the loop sits on Lake Michigan, and the way the buildings are along the lakefront of Chicago. And yeah, if you ever come downtown, it can be dead of it can be dead of summer, 90 degrees, 100 degrees. You're still going to get some wind downtown because of the way the buildings are. You know, it's gonna come through. Poor little birdies get smacked into buildings downtown all the time because of the wind. But what we were taught is that because of the air currents generated by the loop, they would hit any air currents coming at us from that was traveling east would hit these westbound air currents and cancel each other out. So we never had to be afraid of a hurricane or a tornado because somehow the loop was magical. The loop was going to cancel. All these tall buildings along the lakeshore was going to cancel it out. And we would be safe. And we believed it because up until a few years ago, that was pretty much the thing. And then Mother Nature got up one day and went through hot flashes and in a cold sweat and said, oh, screw that. I'm going to teach you something new. And 10 little suckers sat down between Midway and O'Hare. and tore up Lincoln Park.
Mm.
Tore up Lincoln Park and the
through
Dan Ryan.
part of Lincoln Park. It didn't tear it up. It went through part of it.
It tore up enough.
But again, this is the messed up thing.
It just.
I'm certain that Cliff has heard of Tornado Alley.
Mm-hmm.
Part of Tornado Alley is mid through our state here in Illinois.
Right.
And the thing about it is that because it runs through the mid part of Illinois, it is not uncommon for the southern tip or the northern part to get hit every so often. So because it rarely hits in Chicago, people just think of all these different myths and everything until one actually hits. We haven't had one to hit in the heart of the city, but there has been enough that had hit on the outskirts and certain neighborhoods where people should need to think twice.
What they used to refer to when we were kids, or at least when I was a kid, as the boonies. You had to be like Buffalo, Downers Grove, Wilmette. You had to be far out from the city to get really good and hit.
Yeah, down here we don't have them that bad, but the problem is we don't have, like in Kansas they talk about tornado season. We don't have a season because we don't have fall or winter or spring. We just have hot, hotter, and lava. So it's tornado weather throughout the year down here. So,
remember that old game, the floor is lava.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, okay, this part of the state is lava for the next 3 months. We got to figure out how to survive it.
My kids love this time of year because it gets warmer. I hate it because last year at this time, the heat index was 120 and my air conditioner bill was $700.
Oh,
so we don't have seasons. It's just always hot down here. And then for like 2 weeks it'll be cold, and then it's Christmas and everybody's in their shorts again. So it's constant tornado weather down here. So
jeez, we gotta move you guys away.
Please.
Can we
just lift up my house? Come on.
I think we can find some places. What do you need? Like, do you need to live near the Bridgeport? I think Bridgeport would work for them.
Okay.
You know that part of Bridgeport near where the old slaughterhouse was, and the creek still bubbles.
That'll work because I'm pretty sure my 8-year-old will be needing a slaughterhouse hot evidence one day.
We have areas where there used to be slaughterhouses, like the cattle yards were downtown, and then they would ship them to different areas where the slaughterhouses were. Bridgeport was the outer skirts of Bridgeport was near. There was an area where they had the slaughterhouses, and there's like part of the river, whatever, was over by there. And because people didn't think about environmentalism and stuff like that, they would dump stuff in that water. It wasn't always cattle, because Bridgeport also had Irish mafia. If you wanted to get rid of somebody, you just. But the water over there still bubbles a bit at times, because I guess stuff is decomposing. It's like for the longest time, the jokes about the Chicago River, especially downtown. It was for the longest time. The only time the river looked good was when we dyed it green for St. Patrick's Day, because the other time it was this sort of olive green that was really not attractive.
Down here, they finally, in the mid '90s or a little towards the end, they legalized riverboat casinos in Mississippi, and we don't have. we have in Tunica County, Mississippi, we have that's like our version of Vegas.
Hmm.
You know, if you can imagine a redneck Las Vegas, that's it.
Oh,
But
my mama
all
used to
I
these,
go
was,
to
I
the
was just
boat.
trying to think how close is Tunica to places like Tupelo or Jackson.
it's further. Jackson's about 3 hours away. Tupelo is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But so they're not. They're called riverboats, but they're actually full casino buildings. They're just like. But the
They're on the
problem is
water.
it. Well, no, they're not real. What they did is they
They,
redirected
they,
parts of the
they're
river where there's
ported.
like a
They're ported.
trickle.
They're on the banks of that
Yeah,
river.
Oh, okay.
and
It's not like if you go downstate to the boats that
mm,
we have. They're
no,
actual boats sitting on
no,
water. They
these
don't
are
go
actual
anywhere.
huge buildings that have a trickle of the Mississippi River near them. They call them boats.
Oh, okay.
But the problem is, it was all farmland, so it was all like cotton land and all that. So when they built all of it, it's not level, and it's still, you know how like you go through farmland and there's a lot of like that stagnant smell water has near.
Hmm.
It smells like that through the entire place.
Ew.
Yeah,
So
it's like
yeah,
you be mold, almost like feeling sick from mold or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's there's that moldy type of water smell. Yeah. Ew.
and for a while they because it's Mississippi, they couldn't get their stuff together and figure out how to keep everything hygienic. And they would open those big multi-million dollar casinos, and water moccasins were coming out of the faucets and stuff because they couldn't
I
buy
know
good
what
fresh
I
things.
Okay.
Seriously,
See, this is why now I know I've never really liked the boats because it's just
well, the
oh.
we had one. It was the Isle of Capri, and it was one of the more expensive ones they built, and they were hyping it up forever. And the day it opened, they had to evacuate the building because they had snakes coming out of the slots. That's how bad it was.
Okay. It's about
Uh-oh, I think we lost her.
I think she's counting. Oh,
No, I
no, we
think I
lost her.
think I think she's finally getting part of the storm that's here because it's slowing down where I'm at here. She's
Mhm.
about like 15 to 20 minutes away from me here.
Oh, okay.
And we just got through the worst end. So I'm thinking her internet or something had happened where
Mhm.
it could be affected here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is not a
Or
good
she,
feeling when you turn on a faucet. It's like, hey, or even worse, you sit on a toilet and be like, water bottle is ready to come off. Like, no,
well,
that's not
yeah,
good. That's not a good sign here.
yes. It's kind of neat. It looks like somebody just hit pause on her.
Yes, it does. It's weird, but we going to give it enough time. Oh,
Right.
we lost her. Yeah, her
Uh,
internet went down here, people. And the only reason I know that the internet went down is because it is storming here in the
mhm.
Chicagoland area. So it was coming down pretty bad here. Now it seems like it's settling down now. We still got some lightning and everything, but it's settling down. Our severe storm warning will be up in about what 21 minutes. So,
Hmm. Yeah, Elaine, we just got hit and our power and internet are down.
yep, I kind of figured
So,
as much. Yep,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, because that's why I was watching. It's like I have a light on right here.
Mm,
It was flickering.
mm,
Luckily, it's an LED bulb because if it was a old school fluorescent bulb, it would have been burnt out. It would have been
right.
burnt out.
Um, well, while we're waiting to see if Elaine can join us again, I wasn't here
Mhm.
last week after Free Comic Book Day, but I
Yep.
had to brag at one of my LCSs. They had a 20% off sale,
Uh-oh,
and
what did you get?
I finally picked up the last of my earliest comic book memory books that I have in my brain, and it was Superboy 111.
Uh-oh.
And I always remember this one because in one of the little stories, because the Superboy books were a lot of like mini stories a lot of times. It was Crypto's 3 amazing transformations.
Oh, okay.
And he found there was a giant block of red kryptonite that was going to hit Bizarro World, and Bizarro threw it back out in space and landed on Earth. And it turned Crypto into different types of animals. And the one that always stuck in my head, apparently because he turned into a somehow or another, he went back in time too, because he ended up starting the Chicago Fire as a cow. I forgot about that.
He was Mrs. O'Leary cow. Crypto was Mrs.
Um,
O'Leary cow.
but the one that always stuck with me is Crypto got turned.
Okay, hold on. Let me get you on the big screen here. There you go.
Crypto got turned into a llama. And
Lava Crypto. Wow.
And he saved Superboy's life by headbutting a giant rock of kryptonite underground, and then he turned back into regular Crypto. And they brought up the fact at the very end of the story. Let's see how it says. Superboy goes, "Strange how once again an LL has played an important role in my life by saving me from death. Stop looking so puzzled, Crypto. I'll explain. This is the name of the South American creature you were transformed into by the red kryptonite." And so he drew LL on the ground and spelled out llama, and because of Lois Lane
But
and
yeah,
Lana Lane,
Lois Lane, Lana Lane,
Lex
I forgot, I
Luthor,
forgot, I forgot what the mermaid was named. It's like
Lori Lamaris.
yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was Crypto got to join the LL club with Superboy. So, but between that and Super Team Family #2, where Gorilla Grodd turned Hawkman into a giant gorilla and he fought the Flash, those are my 2 earliest comic book memories. And I finally found a decent priced one because this was $9 with 20% off. So I spent like $7 on it. So
That's not bad. That's not
mm-mm.
bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, so that made me very happy. So, but yeah, outside of that, I didn't get anything remarkable at Free Comic Book Day this year. But I had to share because Llama Crypto is like my spirit animal now. So
Out of all things, a llama. That's funny.
yeah, until I started flipping through it, I completely forgot he apparently started the Chicago Fire too. So
He
yeah,
Crypto was Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Wow.
yes,
It turned into Mrs. O'Leary's cow.
yeah. So, but no, but yeah, that was. I don't have anything special outside of that. I liked. I picked up the Summer of Superman special. That was supposed to be the preview for everything coming out this summer for Superman,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty cool. I liked it, but it wasn't like world shattering or anything. So,
Well, the book I was going to review was going to be this one, Kanga U.
I got that for my daughter.
For free comic book day. But
Mm-hmm.
this is also going to be a graphic novel. This is also going to be turned into a graphic novel. And the only reason I read this is because this is also part of Wonder Woman lore. So it's like, oh, this is going to be interesting because they're going to be talking about the actual animals that they ride around in Themyscira. So they actually giving them an actual story, so like a history type story that doesn't really deal with the Amazons per se. It deals with their race, and they kind of humanized them quite some bit. And I was like, oh, this became a very, very, very interesting read here. So I'm looking forward to the actual graphic novel when it comes out in June, I believe. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Now, the one book that I didn't like here, but I talked about this on my podcast last week, was Marvel Rivals. Great fun little romp, has no story whatsoever. It's just a lot of characters fighting something. And I wasn't sure what they was fighting for or fighting with or how they were doing X, Y, and Z, but it was just a fun little romp if you just like, seeing different characters team up to fight different entities and everything to that magnitude, but it had no story. It had really no story, and they introduced this character for the first time here to kind of make it sound like, you know, Galactus is her father, but yet she says like, no, he's not my dad, but yet, you know, says something else sarcastic that kind of puts you in the mood. It's like, well, he could be, but he probably is not, type deal.
Mm.
But yeah, it is what it is here. Um, my actual rating for this book would be like a 3 out of 10. Don't get me wrong with the 3 out of 10 grade for this. It is a fun read if you like things, you know, like books that have a lot of fighting up in it. I want a story to go along with the fighting. And because you know the story didn't grab me all that well, it got a 3 out of 10. If it actually had a decent story to it, it'd probably be a lot higher up, but because it didn't, you know, it is what it is. And coming back to this after reading this to me, just because it's kind of like the first chapter, this one gets a 6 out of 10. This one I think is going to be potential in this one, just like how Barda from last free comic book day had potential. And I still didn't get the graphic novel or whatever series that was supposed to come out for it as of yet. So that's one of the reasons why I don't care too much for free comic book day, because when we get stuff like this and they say, oh, coming later on that year, they really don't tell you if it's going to be in comic book or if it's going to be a graphic novel or anything to that magnitude. At least in this one, they said it's a graphic novel, so I know to look for the graphic novel coming in June. So that would be my review for this week here. I mean, I'm not going through like all the graphics and everything because I don't want to ruin the story itself. But Kangaroo is pretty much, you know, the animals that they ride on. They're up here. They have their own language and everything. So they pretty much spelled it out. It's like they're talking to one another. So the Amazons don't understand them, but they can understand one another. And they were in training to be of service to them. Because they have like a long time legacy of going into battle with them. And it was explaining that history about why they were so vital to, you know, being there on Themyscira. And then they actually, since there was going to be a greater threat coming along, you know, coming down the line here, and they was in training for that. And before they could get into what was coming down the line, that's when they ended the chapter. So I'm waiting for the actual graphic novel in that aspect here. And Lane is saying it's like my young is starting to panic as we lost our internet. Yeah, it's like, hey, I was watching my show. My show is gone. What's going on? I want my show.
Yeah, my youngest doesn't understand the concept of no internet or no electricity.
Yep. Okay, so
the power was out one day when she woke up, and she's giving her phone to them. Yeah. But yeah, my youngest woke up and did believe me that the power was out, so she went and tried to turn the bathroom light on.
That's like brilliant. The light is like there's no power. How to turn on that light work for you? It did it, huh?
Yeah. But now that the Marvel Rivals, that's the game tie-in book, right?
I believe so. So, but it did. It had no story to it. I mean, it was just, to me, it was just like one fight after another fight after another fight with no real story. And, you know, kind of showing you kind of like what was going on here. Like, you know, they had like Jeff the Land Shark and everything. It was just like all of these weird incidents where it's just like different team ups fighting one another here. And it was all tied around Penny Parker, aka the person who had the spider armor, the ones. If you remember Enter the Spider-Verse, she's one of the spider people from the
from
Japan,
like the anime manga,
from like a future version of Japan here.
Yeah, we for Superman Celebration one year, we all dressed up as Spider-Verse characters, and my middle daughter Grayson dressed up as Penny Parker, and our youngest was Spider-Ham.
Yeah. So, it's pretty much like I said, it was a very fun little romp of
Mm,
all the different characters coming out to
mm,
fight, fighting all these different type of scenarios and everything here. So you have
mhm.
like Penny fighting Peter and all this other stuff here. You had Venom there, you had Captain America there, and then you had Jeff the Land Shark going against Hulk and everything. It was just like a lot. It was just like a lot of different skirmishes
Mm,
and everything.
right.
But it had no story, and that's the thing. It's like there was not a story being told here. It's just like,
Mhm,
oh, it's like it's just like the one entity that looks like Galactus that's just saying, what would happen if we did this, this, and this? Oh, by the way, what if we replace this character with that character? How would this
mhm.
end up? It's like, but that's not a story. That's just random battles.
Yeah. Yeah, they Lego just announced for this Fantastic Four movie, there's going to be a Lego Fantastic Four set, and you're going to be able to build Galactus.
That's See, that might be fun.
Hmm.
Now, I do know a lot of the Lego games have been fun in the past. So if they do come out
Hmm.
with a Lego Fantastic Four game, that might be worthwhile.
Oh yeah, a lot. We played They used to have a gimmick for the PlayStation called Lego Dimensions, and it
Mm-hmm.
was we used to play that all the time until we lost one of the discs, and you can't one of the little stands for the Lego people, and you can't switch over to Batman, so you couldn't play the game any further. But that
Oh,
was a lot of
wow.
fun. That was a lot of fun because like we had the Doctor Who expansion set, and every time you killed the Doctor Who character on screen, he came back as a different Doctor.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of fun to play. But yeah, the Lego games are always fun. It's just they're wash, rinse, and repeat. If you played one, you played all of them. So, but I mean, I don't care. I enjoy running around
It,
building up little
it,
stuff. So,
it's kind of like how I felt about Disney Infinity.
mm, yeah, my some friends of mine were real big into Disney Infinity. I never got into it because I didn't have a whatever system it was on at the time.
A
Which,
Wii U or a
uh-huh,
Wii U or something like that.
yeah, but no,
That nor Skylanders, because I was like, I didn't have a system to play it on, and then I didn't understand why you have to have that one stand and then put the character on in order to be able to play a character.
hmm. My oldest, she was into when Nintendo did the little amiibo things, where you had the little characters like that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you could put them on Nintendo 3DS and bring up and it would scan them into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then she found some kind of gimmick on eBay where you could get like bootleg versions of. You could get the little scanner for every single character without having to buy the figures. So she ended up with like 200 characters on her Animal Crossing game that she all got off of eBay for like $5. So it made her happy. So I was like, whatever.
Yeah, that's one of those the hard to learn lessons because you profited from it about bootlegs.
Hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you got away with it now, but I wouldn't keep trying to deal with it,
Mm-mm.
too much longer.
No, I've gotten ceased and desisted about buying bootleg stuff, so I quit doing it a long
Yep.
time. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's sad that you got people that still do it on eBay and Amazon all the time.
Hmm.
I'm not certain if you're
Yeah.
familiar with Raspberry Pi machines,
Hmm.
the little bitty tiny computers that they could build here, and they could
Yep.
put like just about any type of video game and stuff on there. You got people that sell those left and right.
Hmm. Yeah, I have one.
So I built one. I
I
built I
have one
built
of
I
the
built a couple.
I have one of the ones that looks like the big arcade cabinet thing,
Uh-huh.
because it has a bunch of the old arcade games on it from the 80s and 90s, like the Spider-Man game where you could play as Namor and Black Cat and all of that's on there.
Right, the Sega one. That's from Sega. That's
Yeah,
the
I
one for the
play.
actual Sega that was in the arcades. Spider-Man the arcade game.
Yeah, I play that. We have that, and I let my girls have a good time playing on it. But yeah, it's
Did you get them into the Konami X-Men, the 6-player X-Men game yet?
not yet, not yet, because I don't think it's on there. I have to. I have one of the ones where you can upload game, download and then
Mhm.
add to the search. I haven't added anything to it in a while because we don't have it set up somewhere where it can be played regularly. So I haven't
Okay.
added to it yet. But eventually I'm going to because I like a lot of those old games, like the old arcade cabinet games you can't find anymore.
Because
Or you have to yeah.
I think
You have to
if they
spend like
like Spider-Man, I know they're
mhm,
going to love X-Men. The
mhm,
whole "Welcome to Die" line in
yeah.
X-Men, and then you
Yeah,
got
because they
Captain
had
America and the Avengers.
the Avenger I remember the Avengers ones because it had the Vision in his completely white costume.
Right. Shoot
And
the laser beam from the
yeah.
gym. It's like
And at the time I was not reading Avengers, so when I saw it, I was like, why didn't they color the Vision?
right. No, but no, he turned white by that time. He it
Yeah.
was white vision. It was white
Mhm,
vision, and then you get other people in there too doing cameos like Quicksilver, the Wasp.
mhm, yeah.
Shoot. I forgot who else was up in there. Submariner. It was a whole bunch.
Yeah, it's like they had for the Super Nintendo when Maximum Carnage came out, they actually had a Maximum Carnage game,
Hmm.
and the cartridge was bright red, and it had like everybody that had ever appeared in a Spider-Man book was in the cameo in there somewhere,
Hmm.
and I could never beat it, and I got mad and sent it back to Blockbuster and never played it again.
They made those games a little bit too difficult because I remember Spider-Man and X-Men in Arcade's Revenge.
Hmm.
It was too hard. It was too hard of a game. It's like you had to have some type of patience in order to beat that game. And then when you lose, it made you restart from the very beginning. You
Yes,
could not
my I
continue
mean
where you left off. You had to go back and replay all. I'm like, no.
yes, I play modern video games, and I'm very much a fan of save spots and everything, but you don't understand the struggle unless you grew up and played those games where your 3 lives and your 2 continues were up, you start all over.
Games that were fun, but yet you get so frustrated with stuff like Akari Warriors,
Mhm.
like Double Dragon.
Oh, Double Dragon was the worst because it the controls didn't work right all the time, and you would be trying to jump, and you'd end up climbing the ladder and get hit and die, and you're like, "I
Mhm.
didn't do that." Yes. The struggle is real, young ones, you just don't understand.
See, there's different generations of consoles, and and I lived through well, I think we both lived through a greater majority of it.
Mm. My first system was a ColecoVision.
Mine was the 2600.
Mm. Yeah, I had a ColecoVision, and then the 2600 came along right after that. But yeah,
Well,
I've gone through
2600
a
actually
lot
was before ColecoVision, to be quite honest.
in the order I got them in. It
Yeah.
became that way. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I had the 2600 for the longest,
hmm
and then after that, I got the 7800.
hmm
I didn't get my first Nintendo, my actual first Nintendo console just until recently. I got it for $5.
nice.
So I went from Atari 2600 to 7800 to Super Nintendo,
Mm,
and then from Super Nintendo to Sega Genesis, and then I went from PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and Dreamcast.
mm. I still have my Dreamcast.
Hmm.
Dreamcast was awesome. Um, I actually still have my Nintendo 64. I'll pull it out and
See, I
play
sold
GoldenEye
my
on it.
64. I sold my 64.
Mm,
64 just didn't really
mm,
do it for me. It's like there were some good games for it, but it just didn't do it for me like the Sega Dreamcast
yeah,
did. The Sega Dreamcast, I'm not going to give that thing up, but I need to get newer controllers because those controllers
right.
would go bad quick, fast, in a hurry. The trigger buttons, especially if you
Hmm.
play games like Crazy Taxi all day long.
Yeah. Or if you played Marvel versus Capcom on it, your that poor little controller couldn't.
I bought the joystick. I bought 6 button controllers for playing Marvel vs. Capcom on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, we my wife now, at the time she was still my girlfriend, we're, for you youngsters who are listening, we're that old that we used to be able to unlock characters on video games. You didn't have to buy them as DLC.
Mhm.
And she skipped out on one of her fight camp days for a kickboxing match because she was playing the Sega Dreamcast, unlocking all the characters on Soul Calibur.
Oh,
So yeah, that was a fun time in video games. I mean, I like them now. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna go play Monster Hunter when we probably get done talking, but I don't know. It was something about just how wacky a lot of the stuff was back then when they're trying to figure out how all of this worked that I liked. So,
people don't remember that when we got games back then, especially for like PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, and Dreamcast, our ports pretty much mimic what was being done at the arcade. So like games like Tekken 1 and Tekken 2. If you remember, characters used to unlock on Tekken 1 and Tekken 2 at the arcade game based upon a time release.
right.
It wasn't the fact that they had to upgrade the hardware. It was like the game was programmed to release all those characters after certain conditions were met, meaning that if the game ran for like 20 days and you beat the game 20 times with like Nina Williams, you would get Anna.
Yeah.
Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and it was
Everything was time release. It wasn't just something that you automatically get. Like today it's like, oh, give us $14.95 and you can play this character. It's like, what happened to the old school time release type stuff?
And it was
Reward
crazy
us
to
for
me
playing
because
the game.
back then the internet wasn't what it is now, and we weren't all connected, but we somehow all knew when the next character was dropping in the arcade. Because the line would be out the door. Like here, oh, the new Tekken character dropped today is Armor King. I was like, what? How all of you know this? It was crazy. Or like you said, you didn't have the original Nintendo, but every child growing up in the 80s knew the Contra code for how to get 30 lives on the game Contra. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, B, A. There was no internet, but everyone knew it. It was like some kind of ancestral monkey memory or something. It was
The
crazy.
Konami code, the old school Konami code here.
Yeah.
And
we all knew it.
But we also grew up on things like Game Pro magazine and Electronic Gaming Monthly and stuff like that would have those type of things available for us. And if one of us bought those magazines and we start, doing all this weird stuff, it's like, how do you do that? And it's like, oh yeah, it was said in this magazine that we do this, and we just told one another.
Yeah, but we also had a bunch of urban legends. Like I remember when the Nintendo Power Glove came out. There were like people like, oh, if you play Mike Tyson's Punch Out with the Power Glove, you can knock him out of the ring, and you can do this and that. And it like carried, and like everyone knew this, and then everyone found out it wasn't real, and we all I was like, this is some kind of weird like hive mind stuff because everyone knows this stuff. It was crazy.
You remember the classic one, the classic gotcha moment for Street Fighter 2?
Where you could if you did certain things you could unlock Akuma or whatever.
That was Super Street Fighter 2. I talk about the original Street Fighter 2. There was you remember how Ryu's end quote was, you must defeat Shane Long in order to stand a chance.
Yes, you could.
They were saying that, oh yeah, you can fight Shane Long in Street Fighter 2 by doing this and this. It's like everybody's up here trying to do it, and Shane Long was not in the game.
Well, that's like there's when Resident Evil 2 came out for the original PlayStation. There was I think it started in Game Pro as like an April Fool's joke. But there was like this thing where if you go through the entire game with only the knife and use no health kits and 0 saves and get like an S+ rating, you can unlock Akuma in Resident Evil. And everyone believed it, and they were all trying to do it. I was like, no, that's as fun as that would be. That's not.
How are you going to use a Street Fighter character in a zombie game?
Exactly. But yeah, that was, I remember that. I still, all the way until I was like through high school, people were talking about Akuma and Resident Evil 2. I was like, no, stop. It's not real.
Resident Evil 2 was the first game that literally introduced me to the jump scare.
Mm-hmm. I like that one because you played through. You had the 2 discs. You played as Claire, and then you played as Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And when you played as the second game, whichever one you played as the other time, Mr. X was following you, and it scared the mess out of me. Every time he'd bust his hand through the wall and grab you. Yeah, it introduced the jump scare to me badly too. My old girlfriend at the time, she was like, and my wife, she's like, "What is wrong with you?"
No, the ones that scared me the most is the loading screens where you walk into a room that had zombies up there. Because remember, if you go up the stairs, it would go like, clunk, 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 and then all of a sudden you hit the last step, and then all of a sudden, like, whoa, like you're like, kill him.
Yeah.
Or you open up the door, and it's like you see the door opening up, and then here comes the zombie jumping out the door.
Now I have to give Capcom credit for this. After Resident Evil 2, none of the other games scared me like Resident Evil 2 did. Up until they redid the whole franchise with Resident Evil 7, where it's the first person viewpoint and you're trapped in the house. It actually is kind of scary the first hour or two playing it. So I got to give them credit for that.
Well, maybe because of my memories here.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the scariest one out all on was Zero.
Yeah, Zero's kind of scary too. Yeah.
Because again, it took place before Chris and Jill got there.
Right. 2 was the last one I remember that really like made me jump playing it. And that didn't happen again until 7. But yeah, Zero had some scary moments in it. My overall favorite game of the series was always Code Veronica, where you were playing in Antarctica. I don't know why I always liked that one best.
I have not played Code Veronica yet.
It's a good one. I enjoyed it. I'm hoping they remake it like they did 4 and all the one and like 2 and 3.
I still need to go back and play 4.
4 was a good game.
4 is fun. Right now, I'm still trying to get through 8. I stopped playing 8.
And I haven't played 8. I have 8, and I haven't played it yet because it's in my backlog of games to play. But also, my oldest has a crush on that big tall chick in it, and I don't want to play it because she sounds creepy when she starts talking about the character. I'm like, I'm not playing this.
You're like, I have to be by myself. She can't be nowhere near, because if she sniffs it, it's like, what you doing?
Yes. Yeah, my 2 youngest, they're playing Resident Evil remake of Resident Evil 4.
Destro, I believe.
Yes, and my 2 youngest are playing the remake of Resident Evil 4, and we actually sometimes when we get really competitive around the house, the little mini games where you can play as the different characters and see how long you can survive. We do time trials on that level at the village in 4, trying to see how many kills we can get before we die and stuff. And my 8-year-old's has got the record. I think she did like 250 in like 10 minutes. So.
Jeez, I'm surprised that you haven't played the whatchamacallit files. I forget it's called Resident Evil something files, where it's no longer about the actual storyline. It's about all the random people that had to team together to get out of Raccoon City, and they did They did 2 games of that.
I haven't played those, but I know what you're talking about.
I own them. I actually own them, but it's just like that game is quite hard to get people to do the right things to get far in that game.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Resident Evil 5 and 6 kind of burned me out of Resident Evil because they just weren't very fun to me. So I kind of like gave up and didn't go back to play any of the games I missed because I was like, I just can't do this.
I don't think I played 6 or 7. 5 I played. I enjoyed 5. I actually enjoyed 5. It's that's the one in South America, right?
Yeah, I didn't like it was like the partner dynamic was too clunky, and I didn't like it. And then 6, it was like they just tried to put every character that's been in Resident Evil in one game and try to make the whole plot make sense, and it just didn't work.
That was the reason why I didn't want to do 6,
Hmm.
because 5, 5 to me progressed the story along as far as what Umbrella was doing. 6 was, to me, was like rehashing all the stuff that you did before. It's just like, no, we don't need to know this. We don't need to know that. Move the story along. That's the reason why I'm gravitating towards
Hmm.
8, because 8 to me seemed like
Yeah.
the story got moved along, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, kind of sort of spoiler. Trying to figure out what Chris Redfield is really trying to do behind the scenes here, because why
Hmm.
would Stars turn against one of its own?
Yeah.
So that kind of makes me wonder what was going on in 8, that is like,
Mhm.
oh, this might be a progression in story. Let me go ahead and try to play this. And I got past maybe like the first, if I could say, 10 to 25% of the game, and then I had
Mhm.
to stop,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
to me it's like it's a lot of backtracking in this game, which I don't like. I like it where it progresses, like you're doing everything to progress, but in this game it's like you go so far, you take care of one mission, then you have to go and backtrack
Hmm.
because you don't have
I,
everything to move the story along. It's just like, why can't you guide me to everything that I need to do to move the story along? Why do I have to backtrack all these different steps and everything? And
and
then
I
you
like in games.
inadvertently do things that you have to do way further down the line before you have to. It's just like
Mhm.
it served no purpose.
Yeah, I like in games where you progress the story, and if you come across uh object X, Y, and Z, if you want to, you can go back and unlock that door you couldn't get into, and it gave you like an extra of something or another. But I don't like where it's you have to go all like in the remake of Resident Evil 4, you went back in that damn village like every other chapter. I was just like, I am tired of this village. So I like it when it's like just extra for rewarding you for going the extra mile. But if I have to backtrack the whole game, I don't like it too much. Like,
Like I couldn't figure out what to do after killing Lady Diometra's first daughter.
mm,
I killed the first daughter. She has 3 daughters. I
mm-hmm,
killed the first one.
mm-hmm,
And after that, I couldn't figure out what to do next. And then it's like you get like these visions of her popping up, the second one popping up, but you couldn't figure
yeah,
out where to go and how to go about it. And you just like wanderingly, aimlessly inside the castle. And I was like, this is taking too long. This
mm-hmm,
is just taking way too long. It's like
yeah,
I'm triggering all these different things. I'm seeing all these different other cut scenes, and it's just like nothing's clicking, and I'm
mm-hmm,
not finding the stones, the proper stones to put on this door to go to the second daughter. But yet, if you travel into certain rooms, she will pop up and she will actually, take pop shots at you. And so it's like, oh, that's not fair. I can't go and attempt to fight her, but she could pop up randomly if I triggered certain events. It's like it just didn't make any sense to me.
yeah.
Back
I
at back
don't
at
like
that.
the God of War when they made the newest
Boring.
version for yeah, that one. There was so much backtracking in that game. And then when you had to start playing as the boy, I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. This is too much. And my oldest and I, we make fun of it because, especially both of those, the first new God of War and then Ragnarok,
Mhm.
because the storyline in both of these games is nothing except Kratos wants to go home. He is tired. He wants to go home, and that little kid is like, "No, we have to go start a war with all of these gods. Come on." And he's like, "No, I want to go home."
Kratos was like, I did this, done it, been there, done that. Not trying to do this again, but we got to, Pop.
Yes, and then he's just like, "Come on!" And poor Kratos is just like, "I want to go home," and I feel so bad for him, but it is so funny. But yeah, that one has a lot of
It's just
backtracking.
like the son doesn't understand. It's like I've been there, done that. You're
Yes.
not ready to do this on your own, so let's just go home. But we got to, Pop. We
Yes.
got to think about this. It's like I've been there and done that. Let's go home.
Yeah. It's we get a trip out of it because and like I said, I had to quit playing it because when I had to play as the boy in the second one, it was so repetitive. I was like, I quit. I don't care. This game costs like $1 million. I can't do this. This boy's annoying. I'm not doing it. But yeah.
The one game that I haven't played yet with that's adjacent to God of War is Shadows of
Mm,
the Colossus.
mm. I never played that either. I heard it was a really good game.
Hmm.
Um, there was a game, and I still have it on my PlayStation 2, um, called Shadows of Rome, and it's where you play as a gladiator, and you unlock more stuff in the game by the more brutal ways you kill people in the gladiator pit.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a really fun game. I wish they'd remake it because I'd like to see it with like modern graphics, but yeah, I spent way too much time finding different ways to make those poor people's lives miserable. It was just too much fun.
But those are the days. It's like I think the younger generation don't appreciate the older consoles like we do. It's like
Hmm.
the 2600. It's like we don't understand why you guys like these games. It's like because back then we had imagination. We know where things were trying to get to. You
Hmm.
are in the generation where it's already here, that the
Yep.
technology has already caught up to the creator's vision. We were
Yep.
in the days where the creator's vision could not be met.
Hmm.
And if you wasn't on like a 2600, or by the time that we got the Super Nintendo, was right about the time where computer gaming really hit its stride.
Hmm.
Because if you wasn't playing on Super Nintendo or Genesis, you was playing on your PC and you was getting
Hmm.
similar graphics there.
Yeah.
I remember spending countless hours playing games such as Wing Commander 1, 2, and 3.
Hmm.
And for those who know Wing Commander 3, that was the first one where you had Mark Hamill star as the main character
Yeah.
and it became cinematic. So
Hmm.
Wing Commander 3, 4, and 5 were cinematic. 1 and 2 was cinematic, but it was all animated.
Hmm.
It wasn't until 3 where it was because you had CD technology. It became like
Hmm.
movie cinematic.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because every generation of system, we always were like, "Oh man, these graphics can't get any better than this." And now today, it's like, what are they? They're just like literally just going to like clone people and put them in games or something. That's where we're at now.
Well, that's the one of the reasons why I never left from 4 to 5, PS4 to PS5, because
Mm,
other people was like, "Oh, look at the graphics." Like, to me, it's pretty much the same, except you got just better hardware. It's not, to me, that much of an improvement. But then again, being in the tech field, I kind of understand that.
mhm,
But people outside of it, for them, they could see the difference. For me, it's like it's negotiable. It's
mhm.
negotiable. I don't have to have like you know the closer you get to realistic, the more I'm up here. It's like, yeah, that's going to cost you hardware wise, and you're going to have to buy a new console for all this type of stuff.
Yeah. I just like the fact that it doesn't take 20 minutes for my game to load on my PS5 compared to my PS4. That's just me.
I'm trying to think what game takes 20 minutes to load. I was like, it's not like you got a Neo Geo CD.
The Witcher 3 takes forever. I can go make a sandwich and come back and it still hasn't loaded.
See, that's a game that I probably wouldn't play anyway.
It's that took forever. So I'm glad I don't have loading screens like that anymore. But yeah, I can't tell that big of a difference between my 4 and 5 unless sometimes when we go out of town for my Vanderbilt visits, we'll take the PS5 and some of the Airbnbs that have like, the ultra 4K whatever, I can tell a difference then. But outside of that, The only thing that makes difference is the loading screens for me. Yeah.
See that, like I said, until you get those ultra high end television, it doesn't make a difference.
Mm-mm.
It really doesn't.
No, but yeah.
So I know one thing. I'm still not looking forward to getting a PS5, even though the next Virtual Fighter is coming only on PS5. They're not doing the PS4 version of it.
Virtual Fighter looks amazing. I can't wait for that. I'm still waiting to get the new Fatal Fury game.
Oh, that just recently came out, but I'm not. I
Um,
never was one to always rush to get the next new fighting game. Anyway,
well, especially not now, because if you wait, all the DLC will become free in like the championship edition of the game. So,
or the season pass will come out eventually, come out and give you everything regardless.
yeah, because like I made that mistake with Mortal Kombat. I bought the season pass, and every time the character came out, it unlocked it, and I could play as them, this and that. And they just announced the definitive edition where you get all the DLC for the same price as I paid for the original game. So I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
got
doing that.
burnt. Yeah.
Um,
Normally, when they do that, that means that the game is about to be dead. They're not doing any
mhm.
more updates or anything for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I think. Mortal Kombat announced its final update a few days ago. So yeah, that's why they announced the definitive edition.
People are very upset about Mortal Kombat 1 for some reason.
I like the game. I've had a lot of fun playing it. My my daughters enjoy it. It's not like it doesn't have the shelf life that like some of the other Mortal Kombat's do, but nothing has the shelf life it did back then because they're not made for that anymore. It's that's just the state of gaming. That's nothing to do with the game. I enjoy it. I enjoy watching people who are much better at it than me online play it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I'm glad it's not as gross as Mortal Kombat 11 was, because even by my standards, that one's a little nasty. So
Well, the stuff you could do was nasty because
mhm,
I own 11, but I was never a big Mortal Kombat fan because I was never into that the four direction movement,
mhm.
for
Yeah,
move. I
I don't.
always played fighting games that had 8 directions, not four, and that was all the one thing that always threw me for a loop for Mortal Kombat, because it's like, oh, it's like, down, down forward, and with like high kick or high punch to do XY move. Okay,
Mhm.
fine. That's a dragon punch. It's like, no, you can't do a diagonal. You have to literally go down and then
Yes.
forward, and then, or it's like, that's stupid.
Yeah, that's annoying, especially because like I was playing Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter at the same time, and the learning curve was annoying for that reason. Because it's like you have to go diagonal on most of the things on Street Fighter, but on Mortal Kombat, if you do that, you just stand there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that trying to learn both of them at the same time was annoying. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I always like Mortal Kombat. I think because I liked Raiden because he reminded me of the guy from Big Trouble in Little China. That was just it. I loved that movie, and when I saw him, I was like, that's it. This is my game. But yeah, no, I don't know. I enjoyed the latest Mortal Kombat. I can see why other people didn't like it, but a lot of their complaints have more to do with the state of the gaming industry than the game itself. So,
Exactly. It's fandom more so than anything else.
mhm,
It's
yeah.
fandom. Just like, it's weird. I enjoy Injustice more than Mortal Kombat. And
Oh,
at least
Injustice 2 is
Injustice
awesome.
tried to introduce eight-way direction.
Mhm, yeah.
They tried it.
Injustice Injustice 2 was awesome. I really hope they make a 3. Because 2 my my 10-year-old, she still pulls out Injustice 2 and plays it because it's great. I wish they make another one.
The problem with Injustice is that I still have to get used to having a block button.
Hmm. Yeah,
But like, dang, I'm so used to holding back to block. It's like, dang it. And because of how way projectiles are in this game, like with all the different guns and the way that people can shoot at you, it's like, yeah, having that block button is a godsend, but also at the same time, it also changes your thought process too of how to deal with somebody that's spamming, you know, shooting at you.
Yeah. And then if you go back and play Street Fighter and then go back and play Mortal Kombat, you kind of screw yourself because you're pulling back when you're playing Mortal Kombat and just getting
It's like
juggled.
I was blocking. You're playing Injustice. Oh, block button. But I'm pulling back. You're playing Injustice.
Yeah.
Now I forgot what there was another new game that they're up here talking about coming out with here. That was supposed to be revolutionary. I forgot what it was, but I'm not certain if you remember the fighting game called Dive Kick.
Vaguely.
The two button fighting game.
I've heard of it. I don't think I ever played it.
Oh, I played it. I played the heck out of it at gaming conventions and everything because they introduced it. I think they introduced it somewhere around here back in the days when there was like UFGT. They introduced it, and most people think that you could not do a fighting game using only two buttons, but they did. There's only two buttons: jump and kick. But each character had like special abilities to do that went around your ability to jump and kick.
Right.
So the way that it works is like the first person that is able to hit the other person with an actual jump kick wins. Wins that round, and it's like first one to like win 5 rounds wins the match. So based upon your ability, what you can do and your timing with the buttons depends on how you could do X, Y, and Z. Because there was things like one character could throw a hole, and then if you jump, you were going straight through the hole, and you had no control over. You would just be falling for the top of the screen and everything. It's like and everything, and they could just figure out a way just to time you and just hit you. Type stuff. Yeah. So it was like different abilities and everything that people have. Because you couldn't walk forward, you couldn't walk backwards. You could only move by jumping. So you have to hit the jump button to move.
Yeah, I heard of it. I never played it though, but I may have to see if I can find something of it where I can show the girls one day. I remember an old fighting game in the arcade, and I don't think I ever made it on the console, called Time Killers. Where you could
no actually they did. Sega Genesis had it.
Yeah, I just remember you could end the entire match if you could do the move
against somebody's head.
Yes, and I loved that game because it was so ridiculously violent for no reason. Thought it was so funny. But yeah, I liked that because you could cut their arm off, and then the next round they wouldn't have their arm. It carried over, and I always liked that. But yeah.
You had things in that game like armless victory, legless victory, legless victory, no appendage victory. But but to get a no appendage victory, you had to be lucky. You had to be lucky that the other person only did damage to cut off your limbs and not any other damage to your health bar.
Right.
And then the very end of the game, you fought death. Because that was the whole purpose of the game. It's like all these different people in time were trying to find death to cheat death where they could be immortal to do whatever they needed to do to survive in their time frame, whatever their timeline was.
Right. Yeah, that was I always liked that game because it was just so ridiculous for its time.
And I always remember what the move for decapitation, all 5 attack buttons, all five buttons at one time. Because you had a button for left arm, right leg, left leg, and head. And if you had all 5 buttons, your character would jump up and it would be like a triple swing to the head. And if you did get a clean shot, you decapitated them. But what was even worse is like, don't get dizzy.
Right.
As soon as you got dizzy, all 5 buttons is like 1 arm, 2 arm, leg, head. Done.
Yep.
But those are the things here. We're at the 2-hour 15 mark here. You want to go ahead and call it a night here, Cliff?
And that's fine. You sound like you guys have other things to look out for. So
well, actually, it calmed down here, so we're out of the woods here. Our severe storm warning is over with. It's like 9:16, so I do have to go upstairs and check on other people here just to make certain that they okay.
All right. Well, that's cool. We will call it a night, and I'll go torture my wife with bad horror movies.
All right. Well, go ahead and say the goodbyes here.
It was good to see you. I'm still here in Olive Branch. Thank you. Come again.
And tonight's episode is still brought to you by Plasma Fire Graphics. If you need a decent, I shouldn't say decent, if you want a cover that actually moves your book or your comic book, give Jeffrey Hayes a quick little phone call at plasmafiregraphics.com, or, well, I should say phone call because you have to reach him via the web. So hit up his interweb link for plasmafiregraphics.com. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this video and see the type of work that he can do here.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You see the graphics that I talked about, the award-winning graphics that he is known for? Give Jeffrey Hayes a quick little message here at plasmafiregraphics.com or his Facebook group for Plasma Fire Graphics. As far as me is concerned, I will be back here Saturday for an episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. We're going to have a topic that's going to be interesting for everybody here, because I'm going to talk about a little something that's been on my mind here after I saw this one video from today here. So we'll talk about that and probably have some new comic book pickups of the week and show some accountability here, because I have been working on some stories and everything for our next book and everything, and I still need to go ahead and get started on Amazonia number 8. So if you guys are not yelling at me to start Amazonia number 8, it's probably just going to take me even that much longer to do so here. So until Saturday or until next week, where you come here to watch Comic Book Spectrum, I say live life, grow, and be well. And unlike our founder here, Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. Catch you next week here, right here on Comic Book Spectrum.